This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're in Central Florida. I'm here with Deedy. Since 2016, this IT solutions provider has been helping you use technology to make you better. I'm here with Dylan, who is the CEO, founder, as well as tech guru. Thanks for joining us here today. Let's start off a little bit about yourself. You're formally educated in Seminole State College in Florida. You've worked in social media in the past as well as director of technology. Share with me a little bit how you got involved in this industry.
Yeah, so it spans quite a bit farther back. What kind of sparked me into going into Seminole State, which a lot of the times I don't advertise, is I actually started in the DoD business. So I actually started working for my father when I was about 16, 17 years old, who ran Department of Defense companies. So I started working with him, kind of built up a strong IT background, kind of moved my way around, worked with, contracted with some major cybersecurity companies. And then, like you said, about 5-6 years ago, I actually worked with my dad, and we put this company together, and we've been helping people for about 5.5-6 years now, and we've seen some massive growth, especially over the past 2 years or so. Just last year alone, we actually doubled in employee size. So this year we're looking at possibly doubling again. Growth has been absolutely amazing. It's great to see the technology we get to implement with a lot of our clients and see how it actually benefits them in the end.
That is excellent. Family business, obviously the community is embracing what you're doing out there for them. I mean, all the way back to the 19th century, we see the use of technology in business. I mean, fast forward to today, and technology is no longer a luxury in business. I mean, to stay in the game, it's literally a requirement. Is this an exciting time to be an IT solutions provider, as now almost, every aspect of business is utilizing this technology?
Oh yeah, everything, pretty much almost everything a business does is going to be implementing some kind of piece of technology. And one of the biggest surprises we've actually seen in the past 2 years is the amount of schools and churches that have actually had to implement technology. So just in the past year and a half, we've signed 11 schools to our IT program, as well as implemented new technology there. Now, the biggest thing that's happened to these schools is with COVID, everybody's had to switch to a hybrid learning environment. So they've had to figure out how to get not only the capabilities in the school for the teachers to be able to teach these students remotely, but a lot of these private nonprofit schools, which are the majority of the schools in the nation, don't have the capabilities to provide laptops and different remote technology for the students to use at home. The other thing we've ran into is some of the students don't even have internet at home with some of these schools. So we found such a huge market there, where a lot of these schools have been granted large grants from the federal government to actually be able to pay for the updating of their systems and be able to implement mobile technologies like laptops and tablets and that sort of thing for students to be able to work from home as well.
So, exciting time for our youth out there as well to embrace some of this technology. Let's discuss, first of all, some of the types of IT support that is available out there. We're talking about contract versus non-contract. Why is that concern for some of the companies out there, and can you explain the difference?
Yeah, so in our field, what we call it is you have contract and break fix is kind of our layman's terms for it. And so, I have clients in both fields. I always highly recommend going with a contract basis for us, because what happens is we're coming at more of a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach. Okay. So what happens is we can identify problem areas and certain things that we think that they may change, that they should change before an issue arrives, rather than, hey, I get a lot of calls specifically from one large hotel that does break fix, but they call me when pretty much the place is on fire. So they're like, I actually got a call the other day. They called me up, their payroll computer stopped working. So that they were like, I got to do payroll within 2 days. So with
Right.
them, we had to actually do an emergency call. They practically paid for the amount of a brand new computer for us to come out and service the one that they have existing, rather than having us as a contract work to be able to be like, hey, this computer is about to die on you. We need to go ahead, replace it, migrate all of your data. Because the biggest loss that a company gets is now it's its data. And
Yep.
that's where cloud computing comes into play, is the data is accessible from anywhere in the world, as well as it's also backed up in multiple locations.
That is interesting. I mean, are there certain types or sizes of companies that best fit your services? I mean, you're doing schools now, large organizations, but what about the small business? Is that something you're still able to help with? And do you have a consultation set up where you can kind of find out if you're a good fit?
Exactly, and that's the beauty with us is so we've actually implemented a lot of newer technologies for us to help automate systems and be able to be more proactive, which helps reduce the issues, which helps entitle us to be able to support smaller companies even when we have larger companies. So we have our smallest companies, we have 1, 2, 3 employee clients, and we have clients that have up to 150 employees, even more. So we are able to provide that same level of service across the board by implementing things like ticketing systems and monitoring systems. And that's where it kind of comes back to, like you were saying with the contract and no contract, is we prefer a contract base because it makes it easier on us to actually support them for the long haul.
Interesting. Let's discuss some of the areas here you're able to help with. We're talking from server installation, to cleaning up my IT closet if I need it, monitoring my network. Many of these are probably one-time services, but are some of them actually ongoing where you can continue monitoring for them?
Yeah, so that's where, a lot of that cleanup process ends up actually turning into other projects. So what happens a lot of the times is we'll walk into an environment where someone may have had, say, an on-site server for 5 or 6 years now, and the typical lifespan of that kind of device is about 4 or 5 years. So you already know in the back of your mind, okay, there may be a large capital expenditure coming up, say $5,000-$6,000 for a brand new server. However, what we'll do is we'll come in with a new approach. And what we try to do is we'll move a lot of our clients into cloud services.
Okay.
So we can actually implement cloud servers. So if they have an on-site server that's about to go down, instead of them having to come out $5, $6, $10, $20,000 sometimes for these servers, they can switch it to a cloud server, and now we've turned it into a monthly reoccurring expenditure that ranges between $150 and maybe $1,000 a month. So depending on how large of a server you have, the biggest thing with that, though, is you have to make sure you have the infrastructure in your office to be able to handle that remote connection. Because what's going to happen is you have to have a specific device that can create tunnels back and forth between the server and the office. So what happens is sometimes there's a little bit of a capital expenditure up front, but it helps spread out that large capital expenditure over a longer period of time. And then the other beauty with it is contrary to having a server on site to having one in the cloud, these data centers are spending millions of dollars on their equipment every single year to upgrade it, make sure the connections are good, everything is top of the line there. However, with a lot of these small companies, they don't have the capital to be able to invest in that kind of equipment
Sure.
at their location.
That is interesting. So you're definitely able to save these smaller companies some money. I believe just by bringing in an IT team such as yours versus somebody maybe employing a full-time in-house, that alone has to save them some money, because you're able to sometimes even tap into their system with remote desktop support. Is that kind of exciting for some of these small companies to have kind of a professional in their back pocket, if you will?
It's absolutely it's amazing with some of these companies, the amount of stress that comes off of some of their management teams. I mean, even with the schools, in particular, a lot of these schools don't have any dedicated IT people. So sometimes it's the principal, it may be one of these teachers that now is wearing multiple hats. However, what we can do is we can come in, and instead of them having to go out and be like, okay, I got to hire a full-time IT person starting off at $35,000, $40,000 a year, plus, Social Security taxes and all of that that's included with that. Instead, I can hire this team of people who specialize in multiple different assets of the networking area and be able to be half of the cost of what somebody would be in-house. And so that's where, I mean, some of these schools, a handful of these 11 schools that we've signed have actually signed 5-year service contracts with us.
That is exciting for those companies. Like you said before, we live in a world of data. I mean, it's an invaluable asset anymore. I mean, having data in the cloud, not only for backup purposes anymore, but actually for migration, for Google Workspace. Those are all solutions that happen up in the cloud. Is that something that you try to kind of recommend for a lot of those companies out there? Because not only is it safe, but it's more cost effective.
Definitely. I mean, the cloud is really kind of the future. I get a lot of clients that are always like, well, I want to keep at least some of my data on site. And that's perfectly fine. We completely understand. However, there's a lot of different devices and softwares that are out there that will help implement kind of a hybrid solution so that you have your data on a hard storage, but you also have it in the cloud. Because what's also happening is like you were saying, is having it in the cloud, not only is it helping for backup, but it's also it's for remote access. So a lot of companies are moving to a hybrid model where a lot of employees are working from home. And so if they're working from home, how are they accessing the information on the servers back in the office? And so that's where there's actually a really big conundrum right now in the IT field of whether keeping the servers on site and tunneling back to the office, or actually just moving everything to the cloud and then accessing the cloud wherever you go. So it's a big kind of debate that's happening in the IT field right now, and it's really, it kind of depends on the circumstances. However, I really truly feel in my professional experience, the cloud is going to be 100% the way to go in the future.
One thing we learned in 2020 is we have to be able to access business from pretty much anywhere, and the cloud helps us do that. I mean, not only are you helping these companies access the data, but you're actually making sure that data is protected. You're monitoring, identifying the risks, threats, virus, providing firewalls. I mean, are some of these companies making sure, and some of these companies, I would think you would have to even make sure they're even HIPAA compliant when it comes to their data. Are these all things that you're able to address?
Exactly, and yes, they are, and that's one of the biggest things now that the cloud systems are being able to help address is these HIPAA compliance, NIST compliance, this sort of thing. Because like I was saying, is sometimes these smaller businesses, these smaller mom-pop doctors' offices, they don't have the money to purchase the necessary firewall equipment and that sort of thing. So what happens with the cloud is say using like Office 365, as long as you get the enterprise level, completely HIPAA compliant. So what you're going with is your emails are encrypted and they're HIPAA compliant. All of your data is being stored HIPAA compliant. So now a small doctor's office doesn't have to invest $5,000 into a server that they have to keep in-house. All they have to do is get the right endpoint equipment, which would be like a firewall or a gateway, to be able to access their cloud servers or cloud software. And they can, like I said, they can work from anywhere and stay HIPAA compliant and be able to keep your data and everybody else's data safe at the same time.
That is great for those small operators out there. I mean, technology helps us be better. I mean, even communicate better. I mean, gone are the days of dial-up. People have smartphones in their hand, so companies now have smartphone systems. I mean, what is the benefit of VoIP, and is that something you're seeing a lot of?
Yeah, so we are actually, so we work with a nationwide VoIP provider. So we're actually a partner with them. They handle all of the systems and the equipment. We actually we install and actually service it for them. However, these VoIP systems are absolutely amazing. The biggest thing that I found with them is you have such an immense capability in comparison to analog systems. So like with analog, you have a single phone line. If a second phone call comes in, it instantly drops that second call. So it's gone. Yeah, you lose it. You have no idea who it is. With VoIP, the systems that we utilize, we can automatically spin up new phone numbers on the fly. So if you have one phone call coming in, great, you got your one phone line. If you got 10 phone calls coming in, you now have 10 phone lines that handle every single phone line coming in at the exact same time. The other really great thing about it too is you can do what's called like hunt groups. So if somebody dials in to say, if you're a larger company and you have a headquarters in one location, your accounting department so say headquarters is down here in Florida, accounting department's up in Maryland. You can actually have phones at both locations, hundreds of miles apart, and one person can pick up and they can be like, oh, I need to transfer this over to the accounting department. As if that person is sitting right next to you. You just hit a 3-digit transfer and boom, it goes right over to the office in Maryland to your accounting department. So the capabilities with VoIP is absolutely spectacular. Like I was saying earlier, is with analog, you have to pay for each individual line that's coming in. With VoIP, we spin them up as we go. So it's not like you have to constantly pay for 10 phone lines every single month. You're paying for one, what we call SIP trunk, and then we just make as many phone numbers as you need to, depending on the demand.
So no frustrated customers out there when they can't connect with you and get a hold of you. I mean,
Yep.
As society, we've become used to, even expect the world to be interactive anymore. I mean, from touch displays in our hand to LED walls, digital signage. I mean, are companies out there starting to understand that the public demands interaction, and is this a promising area that you're going to be going into as well?
Oh yeah. I would have to say our biggest increase in projects over the past year and a half has been LED walls, interactive displays,
Wow.
and just different kind of visual displays for schools, retail outlets. We built an LED wall for a home builder. So he does custom homes. You walk into his office now, he's got a huge 140-inch LED wall where he shows his custom builds. And, he broke it down. He's like, well, since I've actually implemented this technology, I've actually seen an increase in my closing ratio when I sell people. So I've actually been able to calculate that I've been able to sell at least 1 or 2 additional homes for the past year that I've had this LED wall implemented here, and it's made me so much money in the end. And so I was like, this is great to be able to actually go down and break it down to a number and be able to be like, hey, if I implement this, it's going to be an ABC solution. This is the return that I'm going to get. It's been absolutely amazing for us.
That's exciting. That is great. I mean, every day I'm seeing technology emerging more and more. For me as a parent, I'm really seeing it rapidly changing in the schools, like you mentioned earlier, especially after COVID hit. I mean, it's safe to say this is not the classroom of our grandparents or even our parents, let's put it that way. I mean, are schools something that is a focus for you? And are you excited to kind of implement that new technology for them?
Oh yeah, I mean, schools are probably going to be one of our major focus for the coming years. Just seeing the immense technology that a lot of these schools are implementing. We try to be an all-in-one solution for them. So they come up with an idea, we get them the equipment, implement it, and then we actually help train them and implement that into, like, say, their curriculum. So there's been a few schools, say, we've built custom STEM programs. And what we try to do is we'll take the school and we match it with colleges in the local areas, and we see what kind of degrees that those colleges are focusing on. Because if you can match your high school programs to the degrees at your local colleges, your college acceptance rate is going to skyrocket, and you're going to have a much better selling point when you're trying to bring more parents and students into your enrollment.
Always good to invest in the future when it comes to the leaders of tomorrow. I mean, I look around in a school, we're talking about interactive whiteboards, your paging and your sound systems, security cameras, all the way down to 3D printers. I mean, the school of future, and the school of the future is today. I mean, we're seeing that out there. And do you think that's important for not only the teachers out there, the administration, but even the youth? They're exposed to that type of thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, just as we've been talking earlier, I mean, businesses now, they 100% rely on data and technology, and by being able to implement the training and the teaching that we do when they're in high school, and being able to actually utilize that when they get into their college and professional years is just absolutely immensely helpful, not only for them, but for the rest of our country. I mean, for us to have a highly trained work force is absolutely vital for us to continue to grow the way we need to. And by implementing these at schools that don't get the kind of funding that private schools have is definitely a great thing to see for the coming years.
That is interesting. I mean, as you're able to continue to provide support for these organizations out there with industrious, effective, and earnest solutions, does this continue to be rewarding for you and your family?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll be truthful. It's definitely been financially beneficial for me, my family. We've been able to bring on additional staff members and bring that benefit not only to us, but to other members of our community. And by helping a lot of these schools and churches, we also get a great benefit that way as well. We build great relationships with these with a lot of these pastors and stuff. So we throw a lot of events for them. We do a lot of donations and that sort of thing. So giving back to the community, not only in that sort, but also by being able to bring people on board and give them jobs and careers is also a great feeling as well.
Definitely great to see you giving back to the community. We appreciate you joining us here today, Dylan. Let's take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. Viewers, you're going to see their website. On the website, you'll learn more about the company, but really you're going to see quite a few services that they have been able to provide for you. We're talking about a family-owned company that has been serving Central Florida. Obviously, folks out there, organizations from the small business operator all the way up to your schools, as well as hotels, restaurant facilities, medical facilities are embracing technology, as they very well should. Once again, that is Deedy, located in Central Florida. IT solutions provider, helping you use technology to make you better. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV. And if you don't know, now you know.